Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to Business Innovators Radio. This is your host, Constant Taylor. Today we have a very special guest on the show, and they're going to share some very powerful information with us. So, if you're looking to increase your personal and professional effectiveness, then you've come to the right place. Our special guest today is Karen Russo. Karen has been speaking professionally for over 20 years. The content that she primarily speaks on is corporate leadership and personal development training, and also she's a financial leadership expert. Karen speaks both nationally and internationally and is based out of Phoenix. Karen is an award-winning author of the book, The Money Keys, and she also has a new book coming out called Grow Yourself, Grow Your Wealth, and both of those will be available on Amazon. Karen, that's quite a bio. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you for coming. I know that you're a busy person. Now, I'd like to jump right into the program by asking you if you could tell the listeners exactly what you do and how you help people.
Well, what I've seen in 20 plus years of being in professional and corporate businesses is that a lot of people who are smart and technically great in their particular field will often have slight, subtle, just a little bit of stuff around money. And when people have stuff around money, whether it's just a little bit of confusion or upset or overwhelm, what'll happen is that they'll be less effective financially and also not as confident in the rest of their professional lives. So what I do is I go right to that spot where it's not even so much about like how much money is flowing through, whether you're a business owner or whether you're a professional or building a family, or, it's not even so much about the money constant. It's about like, what's the money for? How's the money experience? How is money flowing through my life? And so that's the piece that I help with. I help people go from upset and overwhelm and confusion into a place of being more clear and more confident, and yes, having more cash flow.
Okay, awesome. That sounds very intriguing. And in today's world and economy, there are many, many people that could use your services. Now, please tell us exactly how do you go about the process from the initial consultation, engagement, to the actual implementation of improving their money flow?
Well, what we first do is we take a look at what I would call people's money map. And the money map is a framework for understanding how our experience of money, how our wealth is happening more through us than to us. And that might sound like a little bit of a personal development thing, and it is. You see, people who think that, well, it's what the government does, or it's what my boss does, or it's my competitors, or spouse, or if you're constantly looking outside and feeling victimized by what others do or don't do, what'll happen is you'll lose your sense of personal volition. And really, the money itself is neutral. It's like language or technology. We can be used for the profound or for the trivial. And so what I help people see is like the story I tell about what money is in my life is really where the power comes from. Mm-hmm. And so with that as a framework, we then say, let's look at my money map. And the money map shows us that there's really three ways we create and experience wealth. And the first is in the area of what I would call spirituality or vision about our wealth. The second area is beliefs, which is our thought and emotion and conversation. And the third is our habits, which is our systems and our transactions and literally what we do with money. And those three things together are what's creating our financial leadership experience. And most people will have a trap or a catch in one of those three areas. And that's the first place we can diagnose. So maybe I should talk about that, the three money traps, and listeners can kind of feel like, hey, for myself or for my team or for my business, which of those might be the place that's trapping us, and what can we do to get out of it?
Could you talk about a few of those money traps?
Absolutely. So the first is, in the area of our vision or our values or our spirituality about money, the trap is called scarcity. And scarcity is lack. It's the sensation of feeling like there's not enough, no matter how much there is. And when people are in fear or lack or doubt, what happens is their creativity and spirit is squelched, and they're just not as enthusiastic or as powerful as they can be. And ultimately, money worries are more of what I would call a faith issue than a financial issue. Money worries are ultimately more about where do we think our security comes from. And most people, somewhere within them, realize that our security doesn't actually come from the job or the spouse or the portfolio or the clients or the markets, because those things can change. What most people deep down within them somewhere realize that there's a deeper place of security, whether people would call it their connection to the divine or God or values or truth or wholeness, or there's something greater. And when you connect with that, you'll be in more of a place of inspiration and really inspiration and peace about money. So that's the first area. So you kind of go like, are we in scarcity? And then the next is the area of superstition, which is our beliefs. So superstition is the money trap around our thought, emotion, and conversation. And this is, what do we believe about ourselves, about money, and about the world? So if people have the thought that money's only available for some kinds of people, or they think the world's inherently unfair, or that everybody's got to have a winner and a loser, if you've got that kind of belief system going, often you'll find that there is more conflict and upset, and somebody's a winner and somebody is a loser. And so for that trap, superstition, the key to escape is the idea of it's really getting into a sense of what I would call co-creation, a sense of empowerment. And ironically, one of the tools in that area is financial forgiveness. Because most people, when they have some kind of sense of victimization about money, haven't forgiven another person or themselves for something that happened in the past. And when people go through financial forgiveness, they'll surprise themselves by feeling free and creative.
Okay, awesome. That's really powerful, and I can see that. I read a lot and probably try to read 2 or 3 books per month. Now, this sounds like it has some of the elements or components of the book that came out a few years ago, Law of Attraction. Is this a more in-depth, detailed mapping of exact strategies of what to do, or is it different altogether?
It's absolutely a complement to people who would be comfortable with the idea of Law of Attraction, and takes it to the, what's great about the Law of Attraction is it's the principle that consciousness creates experience. Mm-hmm. And so the pieces I've talked about, the spirituality and the beliefs, are absolutely the components of consciousness. And yet, for many people who would see a movie like The Secret or understand ideas about our thought creates our experience, the next phase is the piece that sometimes is missing, which is the habits, which is the action piece. Isn't that interesting? Like, you got to have all three. That's what I notice is sometimes when I'm coaching with people who are more from the spiritual realm or healers or holistic, they'll be missing the action piece. And sometimes when I coach with people who are maybe they're in a multi-level marketing group or they're doing real estate investing, they're all action and strategy, and they're missing a sense of vision. So it's good to have all three. Isn't that fun? Yeah. Oh. Can you kind of feel that? Yeah, all three together?
Absolutely. A trinity. So, do you ever have an individual that comes to you and says, hey, I'm challenged financially, and could you kind of dissect what's going on? And you look and you say, well, you are really not in the right area. Do you ever have a situation? I mean, maybe they're doing multi-level marketing where only 10% of the people succeed. So you're looking at, hey, are you one of the 10%? If you're not one of the top 10%, then maybe it's something you should evaluate. Or is that outside of the scope?
That's a really important piece of the scope, is that there's something called, so we're very comfortable with the idea that someone would go to a relationship counselor and you could do tremendous, wonderful work on someone's relationship and come to the discovery, we're just not compatible.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as, two people work on their communication and their forgiveness and their love and all of that, it turns out they're just not compatible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that analogy is good for people sometimes with their, what I would call, the business model of you unlimited, is that sometimes people are trying to make a financial success out of a model that just doesn't make sense, like maybe a family in a home that is just way too much, housing cost for their income level. And it's not that they're not trying hard enough or they're overspending, in terms of lattes or something. It's just really, it's like they need to get their housing situation completely different. Often, that's one of those things that that even sometimes the spiritual coaches constant will be like, we're coaching people to have a better affirmation, and when it's really like they're probably in the wrong business.
Right.
So I think that's a really important piece of it, which is why when people feel clear and unafraid, when they feel, kind of confident and they're in unforgiveness, and they also have good habits that get them in the flow, that people will then be able to make decisions from a place of, just a place of clarity and non-judgment, almost to say, is this the right business for me?
Excellent. Thanks for clarifying that, because I know of people who use the principles to kind of justify where they are. Maybe, like you said, maybe they're in a house that's too big for their bank account currently, but they're using these. Hey, I just need to have faith. I need to have. But you're saying, hey, we need to put some specific action steps behind that as well.
Yeah, it's it's kind of a harsh phrase, but sometimes we don't want people to be in financial fantasy. You see, leadership involves clear seeing of the facts without a lot of blame and judgment and victimization, but then also having the confidence to make decisions and also the confidence to dream and to change circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about your corporate leadership and personal development training? Shifting
Absolutely.
A little bit?
Yeah, so in the corporate world, I am really just had such a great opportunity over my career to partner with firms like the Forum Corporation, and I deliver leadership programs of theirs for a variety of industries. And one of the things that's great about doing that is I've been able to see firsthand where leadership inside companies is really going in the direction of more and more personal effectiveness, science of the brain. What are we doing with our emotional leadership? How much are we engaging our employees? So that's a trend that I've absolutely been seeing, is that some of the things that used to be the realm of personal development are now absolutely explicitly essential within corporations, which is why I feel like these worlds are coming together, and Business Innovators is such a great example of bringing personal growth and business strategies together in a way that makes people more effective. So I really would say, today's leaders of whatever generation and whatever topic area and whatever expertise you're in, you want to be an expert technician, and you also want to be an expert at leading yourself.
Excellent. Now, with the final 60 seconds, is there a message that you would like to convey to the group, to the listeners out there?
Absolutely. What I'd like to do is encourage people to feel like you're serving something with the money. Because this is the big idea. It's not really about the money. It's what's the money for? What are you serving in your life? What's your reason for generating money? Is it to make a difference with your family legacy and to have a legacy of freedom and creativity for your family and beyond? Are you serving a cause that's important to you? Is there a quality or a value of excellence that you want to celebrate? Find out what your why behind the money, and that will serve you well. And here's the other thing I'll say is that I know if someone's listening to a podcast like this, that you're somebody who cares deeply about your own effectiveness, and thank you. That makes a difference in the world.
Excellent. How can people learn more about what you do and how you're able to help them? If they'd like to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
The best thing to do is to start at themoneykeys.com. So TheMoneyKeys.com. And to get yourself, we have right there a digital version of the Escaping the Money Traps book chapter and an audio. And start with that. You put your name and email in there, and then twice a month we'll send you stories and tips and tools. But that's the best way to get started. And then I'd say I'd love to see you on our public Facebook fan page is Karen Russo, your spiritual guide in wealth. You'll see that on Facebook. And for those of you that are in the professional realms, I'm there on LinkedIn as well. So you can look for, it actually is Rev Karen Russo. I'm, in addition to my corporate background, I'm also an ordained minister. So people probably have heard that coming underneath all of this. I'm an ordained interfaith minister. So you'll see those three places, The Money Keys, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Excellent. Well, Karen, thank you so much for coming on the show. That was fascinating information that you shared with our listeners.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.